Happy Thursday. We want to welcome you back to the virtual NCSEA Virtual Symposium 2021. Welcome back to anybody that was here yesterday, and welcome to any new people that are joining us today. My name is Valerie Piper. I'm the PI and Executive Director of the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. Despite the challenges of COVID-19, our team has moved along and done great things this year. We've made great progress. Thank you for being one of the 567 people that have registered. We're happy to have you here. As you can see, we have a great program lined up for you, starting with Target Corporation. We have several housekeeping items that we would like to go over. Please use the chat sidebar to interact, share resources, and ask questions. Please make sure that you select all panelists and attendees in the drop-down box, as it defaults to panelists only, and we want to make sure that everybody can see all of your questions and comments. Be sure that your chat is appropriate. You can turn on the closed captioning or go to the link in the chat and open it on your laptop or phone if that is what you would like to use. Please be sure to fill out the brief survey that will be sent to you today. This is very important to us and very important to NSF for reporting. At this time, I would like to introduce you to Steve Harrington. He's our industry liaison for the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Val. I'm excited to be here with you today to share a story of a successful evolving regional workforce partnership, which was catalyzed based on work and relationships developed by the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. First off, I'd like to thank our symposium sponsors, Amatrol, and the Manufacturing Skills Standards Council, also known as MSSC. In the world of grant work, funding is hard to come by. Your financial support of the virtual symposium is greatly appreciated. I'd like to provide some context this morning to this particular session. 14 months ago, Phil Jones from the Target Corporation reached out to the center looking for a workforce development solution to their shortage of skilled automation technicians in Southern California. Target needed to fill 11 open positions, upskill some of their existing staff members, and was in the process of building a new next generation highly automated logistics facility with the need for 60 new skilled technicians to keep that facility operational. Phil was hoping to identify regional workforce development resources which might be able to help Target with this challenge. After some brainstorming together, I introduced Phil to Charles Henkels, one of our presenters today. Charles took the bull by the horns and was able to get the ball rolling, oftentimes uphill, despite a multitude of institutional obstacles and barriers. This presentation will provide background on how a successful program was put together by leveraging regional workforce development resources, a registered apprenticeship program, the SkillBoss Logistics training and skill assessment device, and the recently released Certified Technician Supply Chain Automation Certificate Program, which is ISO accredited. It's the first of its kind pilot program, which the National Center would like to see replicated in other parts of the country. We're hoping today's talk will help provide a roadmap as a guide to the development of other similar programs nationally. With that said, I'd like to turn things over to my colleague, friend, and project champion, Mr. Phil Jones, Director of Supply Chain Engineering, Target Corporation. Phil, take it away.
Hey everybody, my name is Phil Jones and I am a director inside of supply chain engineering inside of Target's global supply chain and logistics operation. Specifically, I have worked with Target for 24 years and have worked with the National Center for close to 9 years. I'm currently an industry co-chair and a member of the National Visiting Committee. And today, what I'd like to go ahead and tee up for this next hour time period has been the evolution of how we have partnered with a variety of different groups to go ahead and look at developing supply chain technicians, not only for Target, where we have a significant need, but also inside of the broader United States as a whole. And then to go ahead and highlight very specifically the partnership that we've done with our training center inside of Southern California to go ahead and then share with everybody a variation of a possibility that you could consider as you are looking at ways to go ahead and tackle your talent challenges. Let me go ahead and talk a little bit about my talent challenge here for to give context to my problem here. For the past decade, Target has really struggled to go ahead and maintain desirable staffing of maintenance technicians inside of all of our buildings. We currently have about 650 technicians in over 40 facilities across the country. In the last 5 years, this has become particularly acute and a pain point for us, as it's very challenging for us to both expand and to be able to go ahead and take care of the demand for operational support that we must provide. This has caused us to expend a tremendous amount of recruiting effort and a lot of partnership with our human resources department to try to gain appropriate staffing. Now, from working with the National Center for Supply Chain Automation, I've discovered that misery loves good companies. I'm not the only one out there specifically struggling with this. As I talk with many industry peers, this is commonplace across the board and represents a tremendous challenge across the country for us with regard to the ability to go ahead and support supply chain needs. This has been compounded specifically here lately with the evolution of advanced automation, including robotics, because not only do we now need to hire a larger number of technicians, but the overall skill sets associated with advanced automation have really moved the skill bar higher, which means we now have to look at how to upskill our existing base of technicians as well as to hire new technicians. So to give you context, what you see here is a map that shows the Target supply chain of over 40 facilities overlaid inside of the United States. The blue boxes represent logistics centroids, where there are larger concentrations of supply chain operations specifically. And you see, not surprisingly, a lot of our facilities are located inside of those. Of note, in the next several years, Target intends to open over 30 additional facilities across the country, especially in urban areas, to go ahead and support our ongoing growth. So this increases our overall need and also increases the challenge that we have overall. So first off, let me talk about the evolution of where we've got with regard to technician development. Very quickly, I realized that it was not going to go ahead and work to follow a status quo where I was principally focused on conventional recruiting or attempting to go ahead and engage in a talent war with a competitor in many markets where I just took care of myself. It became really obvious that we needed to focus specifically on what I call growing the size of the whole pie, or in this case, increasing the number of supply chain technicians everywhere in order for us to be able to meet our demands. So the focus then grew to who can we collaborate with and what role do we take to go ahead and make that happen. Based on this, Target focused specifically on taking a leadership role specifically in how to go ahead and collaborate and create sustainable technical talent pipelines inside of our communities. That meant that significant participation with many partners. It meant partnership with companies that in the past we had looked at in an adversarial basis and began now to look at as partners in a common challenge. And this meant a tactic of long-term collaboration engagement with key parties that could help us out at both a corporate and local level. So that included industry partners, schools inside of our communities, and the National Center for Supply Chain Automation. So let me talk a little bit about this evolution. What you see in blue represents our initial stab at things, and this was focused on how to go ahead and meet many of the community college leaders, specifically in our areas, using connections with the National Center for Supply Chain Automation so that we could establish relationships. And along with that, then encouraging industry collaboration in conjunction with educators to go ahead and demonstrate the need for broader supply chain inside of major urban markets. Traditionally, Target did not have a large enough demand that we could make a total difference, specifically with a community college. But when you partnered us up with many other companies with supply chain facilities, you began to demonstrate a real need that was very desirable for community colleges to figure out how they could possibly fill. Now, a collaboration that occurred between the National Center for Supply Chain Automation, Amitral as a training group, and the Manufacturing Skill Standards Council to look at how to develop stackable certifications and training to go ahead and facilitate the development of supply chain technicians offered a tremendous opportunity that we recognized could potentially be a game changer for us. We looked at this as a key opportunity specifically for us to go ahead and demonstrate that leadership role by going ahead and volunteering resources to support the efforts to go ahead and further develop and accelerate that effort. Therefore, we focused significantly then on bringing along our global supply chain leadership on the strategy that we had, taking advantage of the certified technician supply chain automation and the associated SkillBoss logistics device to go ahead and demonstrate how we could go ahead and begin to self-develop and then do partnerships with different groups in order to go ahead and develop significant numbers of technicians inside of our communities. Along with that, we then created a maintenance technician trainee role, which is a full-time role inside of our teams that is focused on learning and developing the basic skills using the SkillBoss and the Certified Technician Supply Chain Automation framework in order to go ahead and fully develop themselves into our maintenance technician roles. We have created a training center in Southern California where we have a convergence of 5 different supply chain facilities in close proximity to each other to go ahead and create a purpose-built training facility where we could go ahead and put our device and then be able to run classes or cohorts of students in order to go ahead and learn the necessary skills. This began our journey into in-house training development, specifically as an option. In the past, when I have spoken to groups with the National Center for Supply Chain Automation, we always said we could not develop in-house talent, but this now gives us the opportunity to actually develop training and people inside of our organization, unlocking a new and significant group of people that we could go ahead and give opportunities to significantly increase their overall well-being by going ahead and allowing them to upskill themselves and become technicians, and for us to fill a demand that we had. We purchased 4 SkillBoss logistics and set up one of those, as I said, as a training center. As we began running our first students through, we realized that we'd hit what I call a gold mine with regard to what we're doing here. And we realized that there is a demand for this elsewhere, and we began to purchase Skill Boss Logistics in several other markets. We're going to open a second training center inside of the Midwest and go ahead and focus on being able to do robotics training. And we have focused on doing some things like remote learning and then upskilling training specifically in order to go ahead and meet our needs specifically. And this then opens up an opportunity for us to then look at how can we do different types of partnerships with community colleges in order to go ahead and take advantage of apprenticeship programs, to go ahead and share resources, to go ahead and make this available. So we're very much interested in doing partnerships in many communities in order to go ahead and develop our options. So specifically what I'd like to highlight today and then have others go ahead and talk about following up is to go ahead and talk about the partnership in our training center inside of Southern California, specifically key partnerships that have helped to make that happen. So I will have Charles Henkels will be talking here specifically about Launch Apprenticeship and how we partnered to go ahead and take advantage of some of the opportunities with Launch Apprenticeship. Paul Perkins from Amatrol will talk about the evolution of the Certified Technician Supply Chain Automation and the Skill Boss Logistics device and how this fits in that framework. And then Josh Gonzalez, who runs our training center, will go ahead and show some videos and talk about how we have evolved what we do here. So at this point, it is my pleasure to go ahead and introduce Charles Henkels specifically, and to go ahead and have him talk about Launch Apprenticeship.
Thanks so much, Phil. It's really nice to be here and see such a great turnout too. So my name is Charles Henkels, and I'm the project director for the Launch Apprenticeship Network. I'm based out of Riverside Community College District, and what Launch is it's a collaboration between the community colleges in Riverside and San Bernardino County in Southern California. And basically what we do is we set up partnerships like the one we're talking about today. So where Launch came from was basically it was around a conversation that was taking place. So very consistently we'd have interactions with industry partners that were in industrial technologies, and they were expressing the same issue. They were saying, hey, we're having trouble finding the talent that we need. You just heard Phil kind of talk a little bit about it a moment ago, but they're basically saying they couldn't find people that they need. And then even when people were coming to them, there wasn't always a feeling that they were ready for the industry that they were entering. But what was kind of a dissonance was at the same time we were having this kind of conversation, we were seeing our students do things like this. This is a picture of a group of high school students that were winning national skills competitions in automated manufacturing. And so, what we were sensing was it wasn't so much an issue of whether or not we were delivering the right curriculum, but it just seemed like there was this gap and this disconnect between our regional, businesses and employers and industry partners and our students. It seemed like we needed to bridge that. And so we, basically what we proposed was this idea of using registered as apprenticeship as a way to address that skills gap in our region. And so, the idea being that instead of putting students through a conventional pathway where we offer them, curriculum for a set period of time, like through a certificate or through a degree, and then we send them out into the world. Instead of doing that, what we really did was we said, hey, let's actually see if we can begin embedding students into the workforce as part of their education. And this required obviously a really deep partnership with industry. We kind of had to change the way that we discussed, program development and workforce education. The new role that we were asking employers to play was to not necessarily be consumers of the talent that was coming out of the schools, but rather to be creators of the talent with us. I'd have to acknowledge that, in California, we have a well-supported apprenticeship initiative. Our governor's goal has been to reach 500,000 apprentices in the state by 2029. That's about 5 times the size it is right now. And so a lot of funding that we pursued was through state funding through the California Chancellor's Office, Strong Workforce Program, and California Apprenticeship Initiative. And we use it to help get programs like these underway. The strategy behind all of that funding, though, is this regional approach. Basically, the big idea is that we would create these kind of clusters of businesses and schools that could kind of serve general sectors and develop programs like these. So what that looks like, from a kind of a strategic implementation standpoint, is what we do is we developed a regional apprenticeship intermediary structure where companies participate through apprenticeship committees. And so just as Phil mentioned before, the idea is we don't really build programs necessarily just to serve one business only, but we actually ask those businesses that are in kind of like areas to collaborate. Think of this as a joint effort of growing the pie. So we focus on multi-employer structures so that we can aggregate the needs, in particular professional pathways. We also try to leverage multiple organizations and workforce systems. And so we also don't really think of this as a one institution, one school type of strategy. We have many colleges that participate. We have multiple high school districts with 2 workforce development boards. And the goal is to really streamline those resources in a way where we can serve the users better. Right now we do a blended approach where some of our education is delivered through our existing kind of CTE infrastructure in the colleges. And then we also do some contract ed, not for credit services, as a way to pilot curriculum and test it out. The big idea, going back to again, is really what we're trying to build with Launch is an apprenticeship system that people can plug into. We don't want it to be complicated. We don't want to change what we're doing based on what grant we have currently or what the opportunity is. We're really trying to build a system that we want this to be around for 50 years is the big idea. So I get a lot of questions about what is a regional intermediary. So I'll just address that real quick. So in apprenticeship, basically to do a registered apprenticeship program, you need a program sponsor. And this oftentimes is very challenging for individual businesses to play that role or even individual schools. And so what we did was we established a regional intermediary program sponsor that was registered with the Division of Apprenticeship Standards. But the big idea being that employers, they just had to plug in, as opposed to creating whole new programs on their own. They could plug into this regional system and kind of, like I said, kind of benefit from being a part of the whole. Same thing with the institutions. They could also plug in to the sectors that they were focused on creating apprenticeships with. In most cases, the schools, provide the administrative services, registering the apprentices, operating the, program, working with the Department of Labor, with the Division of Apprenticeship Standards. The industry partners, the big ask we really make of them is to provide that kind of upskilling opportunity, that work-based learning opportunity. And then as much as possible, like I said, we leverage the existing CTE, infrastructure that's in place among the colleges. So in this particular case, I want to kind of outline what that means in an applied view. So you can see to do a program like this, it involved multiple partners. So Target, they're going to outline a little bit more what they're doing, but in essence, they're providing a paid work-based learning experience for their employees, which is something amazing. I think that's something we should really be encouraging, supporting wherever we can. So at Launch, as I mentioned before, we provide that intermediary structure. Then one of the things that we did that was kind of unique, and this was sort of based off of really I would say the industry's indication that they were really going to get behind this MSSC Amatrol Skills Boss approach to training technicians. And we kind of trusted their leadership in that. And so we also purchased some equipment that we could have the same training at the colleges that's taking place over at the Target facilities as well. And then we have a partnering institution, Norco College, that's actually working right now on how they can accredit this program. Where we're going, where we're looking ahead. So we're excited about this program, obviously, as a pilot, but we also look at it as how do we move this forward? How do we expand it? And so some of the things that we're doing right now are looking at the creation of pre-apprenticeship pathways. These are for individuals that don't already work for Target, that are in our region, high school students, job seekers. our goal is we want to begin providing a pre-apprenticeship program, based around those MSSC certificates that will help someone enter that industry and enter programs like Targets. The other thing that we're doing is we're having our college faculty, really take a very close look at the curriculum that's delivered through this program, to work with the instructors and provide, a really strong feedback loop between system engineers working in the industry and college faculty that are training technicians in this area. And then lastly, big picture things that we're really excited about is we're looking at, this is also a possibility for a pilot in competency-based education through direct assessment. We see this as kind of just something that is going to allow us to really be student-centered while industry-led. So what I want to do now is I want to hand it off to the president of Amitral, who will talk a little bit more about Skills Boss, and that's Paul Perkins. So Paul, I'm going to turn off my camera and you can take it away.
Great, thank you, Charles. Supporting Target's efforts, a complete training and certification program was developed called Certified Technician Supply Chain Automation, or CTSCA, as you guys know. The development has been an extensive process spanning over 5 years, and I can truly say it's been a team effort. Leadership has come from 5 key organizations. Including the National Center, which created the vision and engaged industry experts with the help of industry associations, MHI and MHITA, MSSC, which created the certifications, and Amitral, which created the learning materials. In the process to engage industry experts, ultimately assembled a group consisting of the who's who in the supply chain industry with iconic names like some of those that you see here. These companies provided expert advisors to define the various parts of the program and spent countless hours reviewing and testing to validate the outcomes. The result from the effort is a total system consisting of occupational standards, certification assessments, online course materials, and a hands-on training device. This slide shows the structure of the MSSC certifications. And as you can see, CTSCA is comprised of 3 individual certifications. The first is equipment maintenance, which certifies skills in systems operation, safety, preventive maintenance, lubrication, and machine adjustments. The next one is equipment repair, which certifies skills in installation and troubleshooting of electromechanical devices such as fluid power, AC and DC electric motors, and mechanical power transmission. And finally, network repair, which certifies skills in installation and troubleshooting of controllers, networks, and the entire system. These 3 certifications have been aligned with common technician classifications companies use today. So individuals can go to work with just one of the certifications, the first one, the EM, and then they can gain additional certifications to rise up the career ladder. Each certification consists of an online test of 90 to 120 minutes and a hands-on evaluation. To prepare individuals, Amitral's developed courses which are aligned with each of the 3 certifications. Once students have learned the concepts through the online courses and simulators, they are ready to practice their skills with the hands-on materials. But the e-learning materials that come with the program are designed to actually prepare students through hands-on work with virtual simulators. And you can see an example of one of the simulators in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, which is a pneumatic simulator. So the courses are interactive, multimedia based. They have graphics, 3D interactions, and in each course is about 200 hours, which covers the time to cover the e-learning and the hands-on. Once the students complete that work, they then go to the hands-on part of the program, and that's working with Skill Boss Logistics. And so the device that you see here in the lower left-hand corner of the screen is actually a working tabletop-sized sortation system. And even though it's compact, Skill Boss uses the same technologies and techniques used in large-scale sortation systems like the system you see on the right side of the slide. On Skill Boss, packages are inducted, scanned, routed to multiple conveyors, and then sorted into 3 destination chutes, or if there's a bad scan, sent to a rework station. And the skills that students learn on SkillBoss are not only applicable to sortation systems, we also made an extra effort to include a wide range of technologies so the skills learned and assessed apply to other types of supply chain automation. In addition to being used as a training device, SkillBoss is also used for assessing the hands-on skills in the CTSCA certification. So everyone who gets certified in CTSCA has to test out on this device to ensure the evaluation is consistent. There are approximately 100 skills that can be performed on SkillBoss, and the skills are aligned across the 3 certifications of CTSCA. And to perform the skills, the learners work with 3 major elements. One is a human-machine interface, or HMI, which runs a warehouse control software, which you can see in the lower left corner of the screen, a control unit with PLC, Ethernet network, and a variable frequency drive, and the workstation itself, which includes multiple types of conveyors, sensors, actuators, and a barcode scanner. All these elements work together to create a real sortation system as you would find in a distribution center. In addition to these elements, which enable SkillBoss to operate, SkillBoss also includes another element which is designed to make it not operate. And this is actually the most important feature of the system because it enables individuals to learn and assess their troubleshooting skills. And to accomplish this objective, we use a computer-based fault insertion system called FaultPro. FaultPro consists of an electronic circuit board and software that inserts faults into the system, and then it tracks the student troubleshooting activity. There's over 50 real-world faults that can be put into the system so that students get a chance to actually have realistic troubleshooting training, which is actually the most important skill a technician must have. So now that I've described the overall operation of the system, let's watch a short video so you can see SkillBoss in action. The SkillBoss workstation is designed to be accessed from all 4 sides so multiple students can work on it at the same time. We've also designed it for safety with features like guards with safety switches placed over critical moving components. To start the process, the packages are placed on the induction roller conveyor. These packages are then fed with gap spacing to the induction belt conveyor to be scanned by a barcode reader. The first package receives a good scan, so the vertical sorter remains horizontal and passes it to the distribution conveyor on the backside. This next package, though, got a bad scan, so the vertical sorter routes it to the recirculation conveyor on the top level. The package stops at a rework station where a person can fix the problem, which in this case is to flip the package over to show the barcode, and then it's released to get scanned again. The final stage of the process is to sort the packages into their destinations, and this occurs on the distribution conveyor using 3 electropneumatic diverters, which sort the packages into 3 discharge chutes. Each diverter uses a different method common to sortation systems. To monitor and control the process, learners use a warehouse control software that runs on a touchscreen PC. The software features graphical screens to operate the system and has many other functions which are accessed from a main menu. Examples are system management, where the system is configured, and there are many order handling functions such as order picking, order tracking, order entry, and order analysis. And then there are also alarm screens and even a 3D monitoring and operation screen. And finally, students learn troubleshooting using Amatrol's FaultPro software, which is accessed from the HMI PC. In summary, SkillBoss is designed to provide a very realistic experience for learning a wide variety of skills in operation, maintenance, and troubleshooting of supply chain automation. As you might expect, teachers have much to learn to teach and certify individuals in the CTSCA certifications in SkillBoss. To make sure it's a success, we've also developed a master teacher training course. In the course, teachers will learn how to implement the certification, use the online training courses, and become thoroughly familiar with SkillBoss logistics. The training is being held in Amatrol in Indiana with a standard course schedule. We have 2 dates coming up in May and August, and more dates being added as new programs come on board. And we can also do training on site as well. So that's what I have to share about CTSCA and SkillBoss. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or MSSC's Neil Reddy at these email addresses. And now I'll turn it over to Josh to talk about the implementation. Josh?
Thanks, Paul, and hello, everyone. My name is Joshua Gonzalez. I'm actually the Senior Operations Manager overseeing our startup in Southern California. And I'm going to be sharing with you guys some exciting information we've been going through in the last 6 months of the program. So really starting with all the partnerships that we've talked about, we started this journey back in November of 2020 to train our current population of technicians, but also to look to grow our future MTTs, which we call maintenance technician trainees. By integrating Amatrol Skill Boss Logistics and MSSC's supply chain automation program, we've really been able to execute a training program that includes both interactive online-based modules, also led by Target certified instructor. And we've had a phased approach in applying the practical application to the Skill Boss Logistics and then later on into the field. So what's really been the goal? The goal is to educate and develop and certify our technicians with a standard program across the network, but really looking to drive efficiency and speed of learning. We've been able to turn our MTTs into MTs within 7 months, is what we're expecting. You'll get to see how practical learning has been the key in driving speed of skills retention in the Skill Boss Logistics, and also how their e-learning is applicable within the modules to apply a lot of the learnings within that as well. You'll hear from what we call coaches is our trainers from the field. And lastly, you'll get a sneak peek at how Target is utilizing the Southern California facility to extend outside of its 4 walls as in a hybrid program, getting virtual classes from different distribution centers in the network. So as you can imagine, preparing a program of this scale comes with many administrative tasks. So I'll walk you through a few of them. One of them was location selection. And you heard Phil talking about having 5 distribution centers within 15 miles. We found that our Fontana location, regional distribution center in California, would be able to accommodate the 1,100 square feet we needed of space for 10 students and the Skill Boss Logistics to be housed out of. Also, having a dedicated instructor was a learning for us for this course. We have to have a coordinator and be able to support the technical portion of the training with an instructor. And we'll hear more from Javier Avila, who was previously an engineer at one of our distribution centers at Target. The recruiting and hiring and onboarding in partnership with HR, this is a 6 to 8 week process, creating the job posting, understanding what needs to be in the job posting, screening the candidates, determining what the candidates need, looking at their resumes, developing the expectations for qualifications. This was the big one. In partnership with many HR leaders and technical experts, we were able to develop an internal skills assessment that gauges the level of problem solving and deductive reasoning from the candidates. They're not expected to come into the program knowing how to do things, but we do want them to be successful in the program. Coordinating with distribution site leaders and schedules for MTTs. We're now at 13 MTTs, and we've had to apply different schedules to ensure that we're not overwhelming the site coaches with too many to train. And then also looking to assign a dedicated coach. This was a big learning for us as we initially got started. A coach is somebody that needs to be able to follow the curriculum, not jump ahead or go rogue in the training, and be able to teach them in a safe manner the practical application of what they're currently learning in the program. And then lastly, you'll get to hear actual experiences and meet the MTTs from the field. This is a quick snapshot of our regional distribution center in Fontana. And again, this was the location that was selected for our training center. And it's going to be able to support future market expansion opportunities. It gave us, again, that 1,100 square foot space that we needed. And it serves as a continuous learning location for existing maintenance technicians and leaders. Here's kind of the 2 adjacent rooms while they were in construction that ultimately became our training center. Overall, this process took from design to finish about 3 months. And in the beginning of April, we were able to reap the benefits. You can see how beautiful the training center has come out to. So this is able to house 10 students max. You see that they have their laptops, they have the screens for them to be able to look at diagrams and schematics on the monitors. And then one of the features we've recently added is PTZ cameras throughout the entire training center. And this has allowed MTTs across our target network to attend virtual class time in Southern California, which is fantastic because it allows for that real-time interaction with our instructor. So far, for the first 2 cohorts, we've been able to fill those 13 MTT positions internally that attend simultaneous classes over a 4-week class schedule a week. These MTTs are also serving our local distribution centers. So not all of them are just housed from one distribution center. We're also looking at applying future cohorts of trainings to upskill our current maintenance technician 2 population and provide that network curriculum to be able to upskill them to a maintenance technician 3. And you'll hear more about that in a bit. So this is Javier Avila. In just a bit, I'll pass it over to him. But he is an engineer with Target. He has 6 years of experience. He did go through the certification process with MSSC and Amatrol, and he is supporting our current cohorts with the plans of supporting up to 6 to 7 cohorts up to 2023. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Javier so you can learn a little bit about how he uses the curriculum and how some of the MSSC LMS is applied from an instructor's perspective.
Hi, I'm Javier Avila. I'm the instructor for the MTT program here in Fontana, California at T553. And I went into this program because I love teaching. And so I saw the opportunity that they wanted to open this in Southern California because of the number of distribution centers we have. So we have a unique opportunity to train the pool of future maintenance technicians for this program. And so we're using the tools created by Amatrol and that are part of the training program from MSSC, which is a manufacturing skills center. And I have here one of the tools that the maintenance technicians in training have. I just have a snapshot of the actual simulator, which uses, this is for an electrical, and this is specifically a motor control circuit. And so they get to know every component, how it works, and then how to troubleshoot the whole circuit. And you can see here they have available a meter. You can set up to voltage, current, resistance, so forth, and they can take measurements on the circuit. And so they actually have the individual components, they wire them together, following the schematic provided, and then they troubleshoot it. First verify that the whole circuit works, and then they go into settings, and then they are able to induce faults that are generated randomly. So they don't know exactly what component is going to fail. And so that's what they have to figure out using the tools provided. And you can see, for example, how fast the MTTs get to be at troubleshooting. For example, this specific MTT was able to troubleshoot 7 faults in a row in about less than 13 minutes. So that's less than 2 minutes per fault. So they get very proficient at taking readings on the circuit to figure out where the problem is and then isolate it to the component. And then verify the component off circuit and be able to replace the right component. And so they do this before they actually get to the real equipment where they actually are going to be working with live voltage. And we have the equipment over here. And again, this is the skill bus logistics from Amatrol, which has all the basic components of a sorter or any automation equipment. And this is really a mini sorter. It has a PLC, Ethernet switch, a VFD, and the motors to actually move the conveyors in this sortation system.
So what's really great about this program, as you can see, it's very interactive, but it also allows the instructor to see progress made by the MTTs. And in this case, how quickly they're able to diagnose these faults. And then quickly be able to take these module learnings and apply them on the skill boss logistics in a safe electrical environment. So I really enjoy this picture. This was taken back in November of 2020. Our first cohort, you can see it wasn't in our beautiful training center yet. It was in one of our video conference rooms in Target. And at this point, whatever you see is what we had as part of the program. Any type of additional materials, peripherals, skills, laptops, all had to be, we had to learn that we needed that along the way. We did ended up taking a pause for the month of December due to COVID and resumed classes back in January. So our target MTT apprentices go through an initial screening of their resumes and brand screening interviews, and then a technical assessment that focuses on their ability to problem solve. Again, there needs to be more of a passion to learn in this industry, and that's really the candidates we've selected. A lot of them have previous junior college experience or have automation or an electrical and industrial degree, which is fantastic. It serves as a great baseline, a great foundation for this program. The MTTs will go through a 34-week period. Paul touched on it, a little bit over 130 modules from the MSSC curriculum. We expect our MTTs to do about 4 to 5 modules per week. And again, they're in classroom time 2 days a week, and then the additional 2 days a week, they're on their home site with their coaches. Fast forward, this is actually pictures taken first week of April as we onboarded our second cohort. You can see they got off to the right start from some of the learnings we had in November. But we expect to certify MTTs on equipment repair and equipment maintenance, which is our first 2 certifications, in order for our technicians to progress into an actual MT role and be qualified to go into a target-based technician role. This will take, again, about 7 months to complete, which was a great learning for us. And it's fantastic to be able to get technicians into the field that quickly. With expected target growth, we're projected to have about 53 MTTs certified and into the field by the middle of 2023, as well as 50 technicians certified in our more advanced network repair curriculum by that same time as well. And I'll play this video and kind of talk over it. And I just really enjoy it because it's a really good interaction in the sense of, Paul touched on it, having multiple MTTs being able to actually see what they're going to be working on. But you can see here, Javier is providing that coaching experience throughout this. And that's really been kind of the middle step. As we look at modular-based curriculum, the next step is applying it on the skill boss logistics. And this really gears up our MTTs to take their learnings into the field on our material handling equipment. This next slide will showcase a little bit about Javier Harris. He is one of our experienced maintenance technician 2s from Fontana, California. He's trained several new hires, external and also supporting as a coach for this MTT apprenticeship program. So with that, I will pass it over to Javier to provide a little bit of context about himself and what he thinks about the program.
Hi, my name is Javier Harris. I've been with Target going on 12 years. I've been a mechanic for 6 years, transitioned from mechanic 1 to mechanic 2. That's my current position. What I did before, I was an inbound, 5 years, throwing boxes like everybody else. What I do as a support, as a coach, is they come from the classroom with some type of idea, and then I facilitate that idea and show them the works, show them real-time demonstration. The benefits of the program that I see from seeing external candidates to the new program candidates is that they come out of this program with, a lot of ideas and they come in running. So it's really easy for me to show them what they're working on based on the program.
I think what's really great about what Javier highlights is the curriculum provides him really strong context to be able to follow and train. versus trying to decide for the MTT what he's going to show them next. He can have a very structured approach in what he's going to show them in the field. For our first cohort of MTTs, they're actually midway through their program, and we currently have 4 in our first cohort. All of them have completed their first certification with a passing grade of 90% or better. What we did directly after the certification test, which was the equipment maintenance, we gave all 4 of our MTTs a maintenance technician 1 assessment, which is what we would normally give our MT assessments if they're external candidates. We actually found that 3 out of our 4 MTTs would actually be job offered an MT1 position at this current juncture, and they're 4 months into the program, which again is just a fantastic data point as we continue to learn. So Jade is one of our trailblazers. He is one of those 4 MTTs that joined from our first cohort. Jade previously attended a local junior college for 2 years where he received his industrial electrical degree. He has a passion for continued learning in this field. So when this program came up, Jade definitely wanted to put his name in the hat. He was selected. So I'm going to turn it over to Jade. He's going to walk us through what a day in the life of MTT looks like as they spend classroom time going through modular-based learnings.
Hello, my name is Jade Gray. I'm currently a maintenance technician trainee here with Target. I've been with Target for a couple of years now. Previously, I had some experience at a junior college nearby with industrial electrical technology. When this program opened up, I thought it was a good opportunity because I wanted to become a technician here with Target. A lot of this program has a lot to do with computer-based training. It really helps us to learn how the components work on a surface level, see how they work together, allowing us to troubleshoot it here on the computer safely before we go out onto the floor and do it more hands-on. So right here, I can show you an example of the circuit. Here it's a sequence control circuit, and we're trying to troubleshoot it. It'll automatically put in a fault, and we have to try to figure out what the fault is. So we can look at it, we can hit this start push button. We can notice that the motor doesn't run, but this light comes on that's connected to this control relay. So we could use this little multimeter that's here on the simulator to check for voltage and whatever else we need. So we know that because the light's on, that there's voltage present, but for whatever reason the motor is not running. So we can check voltage across the motor, and we can see that it is not getting any voltage right now. So for the motor, we have the motor starter. So we can look to just make sure, follow it over here to see if the motor starter is getting voltage. And we can see that the motor starter is does have 208 coming into it. So we have to find out why this motor starter isn't sending that voltage out to the motor. So with that, we can check across all 3 of these contacts, and we can see, and we can manually activate it here to make sure that it's working properly, which that one is. And we can just go across and check all 3 of them. And we see on this one, it stays at 120 volt even after it's getting activated. So we know that right here on L2 is where our problem is. There's an open there. So it's just stuff like that. That's a good practical example of troubleshooting, narrowing down to what component it is, seeing exactly what's wrong with that component, so that later in the field, have the same thing. We'll know that this is the part that's wrong and the thing that we need to replace.
So Jade was quoted as saying he has been able to learn more and retain more information in the last 4 months than at any point in his previous schooling. This was not stated in a negative manner towards any educational system, because without the fundamentals in his industrial electrical degree, Jade would not be as advanced as he currently is right now. However, it does shed some light on the strong interactive curriculum and how the practical application of this program is really being impactful. What are the advantages of this curriculum? So when Jade completes the classroom training, he will be able to have a master's certification once completing all 3 certifications. Getting the first 2 certifications will allow Jade to apply for an MT1 or an MT2 position within Target, while still having the ability to complete the last certification. And then lastly, Jade is participating in a paid apprenticeship program. So he's becoming familiar with Target equipment. So kind of in closing, what were some of the critical learnings from our perspective at Target? So The MTT recruiting and onboarding is definitely key. Having that structure, but also understanding that it does take time to recruit and onboard, 6 to 8 weeks on average. Dedicated site coaches. I cannot emphasize this piece as much as Javier Harris showed us. Having the right coach with the right attitude and willing to stick to their curriculum is key to the practical learning for the MTTs. The network strategy for MTTs. This is big. So our virtual classes, again, just started about 3 weeks ago, but we're already seeing some great gains from that. So continuing with making sure that we're able to extend this learning outside of our 4 walls in Southern California. And then lastly, ensuring everything we do is founded on the practical training foundation. This is key to this training program. And truly, if you speak to any of the MTTs, they'll tell you that's how they were able to best learn, is once they started applying this in the field. Some of the program wins is setting up the training center with cameras, as I spoke about. This has been a very exciting new learning. We're excited to continue to expand in this area and learn from it as well. The integration of continuous technicians to further their technical development. So we talked a lot about how maintenance technician trainees are being introduced into the field through this program, but also leveraging this program to upskill our current technician population and really get them into more of those control-based and data network through that network repair curriculum is something we're excited about. And then lastly, the timing of it. New maintenance technicians ready for the field within 7 months. So really having that foundational learning to be able to take into the field. So I thank you all for your time. Hopefully this was excellent. This is exciting to share. And with that, I will pass it back to Steve Harrington.
Thanks so much, Josh. And I'd like to thank all the speakers for providing an excellent overview of this innovative program. Please remember, all of this was done over the past year with COVID-19 restrictions in place, which presented numerous delays and challenges. At the onset, the intent was to have a dedicated instructor from an Oracle college handle the classroom elements of this project. This just wasn't possible with COVID-19 and related restrictions. Fortunately, things are now moving forward in this direction to have educators from the school involved with the program. In true partnership form, each party has contributed substantial financial and human capital into the development of this program. This is an essential element to any real partnership. Now this pilot program has been successfully incubated with Target. The business case exists in support of the long-term vision, which is to develop regional training sites centered on this program with broader community involvement and a multitude of companies participating, basically taking this incubated project and rolling it out where a lot of companies are involved and a lot of resource partners are involved, and cohort recruitment is done from resource partners. Great starting wages, a growing occupational demand with the defined career pathway. It sounds like we're headed in the right direction. Now let's move forward with the Q&A. So I'd received one question at the front end, which is, this question's probably directed best to Phil Jones. What is the general job description and required skill set for these techs, and what is the pay range for these positions, either at Target or industry-wide? If you could speak to that, Phil.
Yeah, so in Target specifically, we end up having multiple levels of maintenance technician. So what happens is there is a maintenance technician trainee, which is a full-time student that we have hired at Target. And their focus is on training specifically to go ahead and gain the skills to become a maintenance technician. And then there are 3 levels fundamentally of maintenance skills. A maintenance technician 1 is a starting maintenance technician, is principally focused on doing preventive maintenance. There is less troubleshooting focus at that point. Specifically, it's very much focused on mechanical and basic electrical skills oriented, necessary to go ahead and do regularly scheduled maintenance on different pieces of equipment. Our maintenance technician level 2 does preventative maintenance, but with more skills They handle troubleshooting and repairs of equipment that have broken down and are expected to be able to go ahead and maintain the full spectrum of all of our different pieces of equipment. That involves a more advanced electrical and electronics background, as well as advanced mechanical skill sets. A maintenance technician 3 inside of our framework is does advanced control systems troubleshooting, and also is a trainer for maintenance technician trainees. So those are the skill sets they focus on. They need to be able to know basic PLC troubleshooting and be able to program advanced devices like servo drives, variable frequency drives, troubleshoot networks, and so forth. If you were to talk a general range, I can't tell you exact specifics, but I can tell you the industry as a whole, it is not untypical for maintenance technicians to go ahead and range everywhere from the low $20 per hour into the mid-range $30 per hour. And some of your advanced technicians can be paid mid-30s to lower 40s per hour. This varies tremendously from a region to region area based on what the job market looks like. So that doesn't tell you target specific, but tells you what the industry generally is.
Well, thank you, Phil. So it basically sounds like the wage range is somewhere at the front end, around $50,000 a year, upwards toward more skilled techs making upwards of $80,000 or $90,000 a year.
That's correct.
Thanks for providing that guidance without revealing target specific proprietary data. We had a handful of questions come in around the high school arena, and I'm going to go ahead and feed this to Paul. But Paul, the Skill Boss Logistics device is an amazing invention. So first of all, congratulations on that invention. It's the next generation of trainer that can do 100 teach and assess 100 different skills. Is this skill assessment device appropriate for use in high schools? Or is the material and subject matter too advanced for students?
Well, thank you, Steve, for the compliment on Skill Boss. And it, as I had said earlier, it really has been a team effort, and we've had so many great minds from the many industry partners, and Target certainly one of the most significant, and certainly all the folks that you guys have engaged, and I think that's really resulted in a superior training device. And so in answer to your question about high school students, absolutely, Skill Boss is a fit for it. We actually already have several high schools that are using it now, and thankfully the certification system that MSSC created is a stair-stepped system. So the first certification, equipment maintenance, is absolutely doable by a high school student, probably a junior or senior. And I think from the standpoint of the equipment complexity, one of the things that we gave a great deal of thought to was safety, and we do that with everything that we build. And so the system is very, very safe, and I think that any high school using it would, certainly can feel comfortable that that their students are going to be in a good environment. And then it really comes down to time. How much time do they have to spend on it? Because each one of the programs is about 200 hours, and it might take longer for a high school student. That's something that we're really testing right now. So I think it certainly is within reasonable expectations that a high school student could come out with the first certification, maybe the second one, but also having worked on elements of all three of those certifications, and certainly this is a program that they can continue on into a dual credit program through to the college or into the incumbent workforce like Target is doing. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Paul. Charles, you touched during your presentation a little bit on some of your work with the partners, and potentially on some of the work that is underway to take this sort of model program to the next level. Can you shed a little bit more light on that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm gonna go back to that story that Josh, told a little bit about that technician that said how much he had learned in the course of 3 months. And I think that, it's easy to kind of just go past that statement that he felt like he'd learned more in that 3-month period of this contextualized, training than he had learned in multiple years of just education alone. And just as Josh said, it wasn't a indictment of the education, but it was really promoting how effective this model is of learning being embedded in into work like that. And so a couple of things that we're really looking forward to doing. So one is setting up pre-apprenticeship pathways. I think this is relevant to that question about like the high school students, setting kids up, setting job seekers up so that they know what skills they are in demand, what skills are important, what skills are going to help them, get a job and be relevant to the companies that are in the area. So we're excited to begin expanding that, creating more opportunities for people that aren't already in this industry to get involved in that training. And then our work with college faculty is to really look at, I'll say this, this is a challenging program for a college to take on. And so I admire, the courage of the colleges that do, because what it requires you to do is to really look at education through a competency-based lens instead of only a, kind of class and lab hours lens. And that's really challenging, but I think it's the future. I think it's something that, if we really learn how to embrace this, we're going to provide a lot of opportunities for a lot of students to engage in programs like this. And I think if we don't do that, if we fail to do that, I think we're going to miss our window of opportunity to, really make a program like this a normal thing, not the exception, but actually the rule.
Thank you, Charles. Appreciate that. A comment for Margarita B, and Terrell Bailey's floating something at me. Margarita, the best way to get your question answered is to email Paul Perkins at paul_perkins@amatrol.com. Josh, we had a question come in. So you talked a little bit about the virtual classroom setup and what sort of win that is for the Target Corporation. Can you shed a little bit more light on what you guys are hoping to accomplish with that, or kind of what the goals are, or how broadly you're rolling out, or any more context on that virtual classroom piece?
Yeah, sure. So I think the first step is really testing this with our first pilot building at Cedar Falls. So far, again, we've only been 3 weeks into this, but we've extended this opportunity out to the network. So this year, Target was provided these positions, these MTT positions from a labor budgetary standpoint to be able to staff. So with that comes the questions from each of the sites. How do I staff these positions and what do I do with them? So we're trying to provide that avenue to take advantage of the Southern California Training Center to plug in virtually. And what this does is it ensures that as the MTTs at other sites don't necessarily go independently into the program, but they go in it with a group of MTTs or peers that are experiencing it themselves, bringing up those questions throughout the modules, but most importantly, having the instructor available real time to ask those questions. So through the training, there's demonstrations that the instructor does. There's different types of skills that he'll showcase on the Skill Boss logistics, so they can visually start seeing. So we've seen some of that stuff unfold. Again, more time will tell how that works out, but we're really hoping that this reaches out outside the four walls, because this is something that MTTs are now available at all our distribution centers. So
awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Steve, if I could follow up
Sure,
for a moment.
Sure, Phil, please.
It's not economically feasible for us to create a full-fledged training center at every one of our DCs. We did this as our first one in Southern California because the number of distribution centers. We're looking at a framework where some of them will be full-fledged training centers across the country. But in most cases, we're going to be looking at what sort of creative partnerships can we look to do. So this is where I'm very interested in talking with community colleges in the area and so forth to see, does it make sense for us to purchase a unit? Does it make sense for a community college to purchase a unit? How can we take advantage of resources like the remote learning piece where we take advantage of Zoom which we've learned how to do as a subset of COVID, in order to go ahead and be able to give somebody sort of that classroom type environment to supplement the self-learning or self-paced learning that they're able to go ahead and do with the certified technician supply chain automation framework. I just cannot say enough about what Amatrol has done overall from a training perspective. You know, this is absolutely the bee's knees in terms of the best stuff that we have ever seen in terms of technical training content, packaged in a very usable fashion and complemented by an incredible lab device that makes it so easy for us to both train as well as to go ahead and certify.
Excellent, excellent, Phil. Thank you so much. And that's actually a great way to wrap up today's session. I want to thank all of the panelists for the information they shared about this exciting, innovative program, and for the attendees. Any chat questions that we didn't get to, or any follow-up that folks have requested, the National Center will be reviewing the chat after the session, and we'll be reaching back out to you relatively soon. So with that said, now I'd like to turn things over to our moderator, Dr. Mary Solinsky, PI for NSF-AT Working Partners Project and Workshops, Bellevue College. Go take it away, Mary.
Thank you, Steve. It's great to be back with all of you again today. We sure had a great day yesterday with a lot of captivating presentations, and it looks that today's going to be just as excellent. Before we jump into our next sessions, we're going to take a short break now. When we come back at 1:20 Eastern, 20 after the hour, we'll hear from one of our fabulous sponsors, followed by 2 more terrific sessions. So 10 minutes, everybody, and then come on back. We've got some great things coming. Thank you.